You came to market with a product that's a tiny fraction of what's in the current market. How did the established industry kind of see you coming into this market? Did you get any pushbacks? Was there any, oh, welcome, let's take you under our wings and show you where you need to go?
Man, you got some good questions. So absolutely, as much as I wish I got a warm welcome and open arms, it was kind of the opposite, right? People were quick to judge that, okay, if you're bringing a product of this price point to the market, it's going to be super low quality. Or, a bunch of kids run this company. They don't know what they're doing. Or you just got lucky, right place, right time. You just got lucky. Like I heard all of those things, but slowly but surely as we continue to grow, continue to have just so many customer testimonials pour in, so many lives change. It kind of got to a point where it couldn't be ignored, right? Mm-hmm. So I would say that it's been a pretty tough road in terms of the industry, because when you disrupt, right, by nature, you're disrupting some big players that have made a lot of
Welcome to the show. If this is your first time here or you are a returning listener or viewer and you haven't done so yet, hit the like and subscribe button down below. Be much appreciated. And of course, if you're very intrigued with what's happening in the startup scene, definitely hit that like and subscribe button down below, and hope you look forward to the show. Welcome to another episode of From Garage to Growth. I'm your host, O'Brien. And on today's episode, I'm welcomed by Ishan. And Ishan, before we kind of get into the questions, I'd just like to give you the floor. Introduce yourself and let the audience know who you are.
Thanks for having me. My name's Ishan Patel. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Audien Hearing.
And what's the kickstart of your journey? I know your grandfather had an issue with hearing, and did that spark your initial journey into entrepreneurship, or was it always there to begin with?
I would say it's a little bit of both, right? So the drive towards entrepreneurship, I think, kind of was present from a young age. I just didn't really know how to identify it. I came from a fairly strong academic background, a lot of math and science, and it wasn't really prioritized in my childhood. But I think I still really had it in me the whole time. And then as far as, getting into the hearing industry, absolutely. My grandfather has pretty significant hearing loss, and it started early on, when I was about 8 years old. And I effectively experienced it for a decade and watched it kind of destroy his relationship with everyone in our family, and including myself, right? You can't talk to him. You have to kind of shout, even if you're trying to say that things like happy birthday or I love you. And everything just turns into this kind of struggle that everybody is suffering from, not just the person with the hearing loss. So that's why when my co-founder came to me and said, look, over-the-counter hearing aids are coming. This is going to be an opportunity to get hearing aids to people without a prescription, without a hearing test, without a doctor's visit. I knew this was something that I really wanted to try to change.
Yeah, so you zeroed in on this issue, which is the hearing aids that are costing a fortune, anywhere from around 500 to 1,000, give or take. When you first decided to go on this journey, did you know how big a task you were getting yourself into? Or was it one of those things where you're like, there's an issue, I have an idea, so let me just go tackle it?
Yeah, I would say it kind of started the way you're describing, where, it was like, this is something that's a really big deal. I want to solve it. I want to try to tackle it. I think that I didn't fully grasp how massive of disruption this was going to be, because you can't, it's kind of like a kid with a dream a little bit. And then, the studies, the data continue to come out, in the following years of like, well, 1 billion people in the world have hearing loss. Well, this is actually one of the world's largest untreated medical conditions. This is actually now a precursor, an indicator of Alzheimer's, dementia, premature death, Johns Hopkins, Harvard Health, and so many more studies are coming out now of how hearing loss is really the key to so many different health factors that people have sort of been ignoring. So definitely, I would say it grew into something much greater than the original sort of vision. But I also feel like it was always meant to go that way.
So it's one thing to kind of have an idea, and it's another to kind of build it all together. So how did the building or the garage phase of you starting this company look like?
Oh man, probably how you're picturing it. I mean, you're talking about it's March 2020 when we launched this thing, and when we finally get to kind of a point where we need a garage operation for fulfillment and shipping out these hearing aids. It's all about 117 degrees Fahrenheit outside. in Arizona, blistering summer, the asphalt is melting, and we are all in this garage, just literally packing and shipping out thousands and thousands of hearing aids a month. And so it was totally like it was really cool because it was a group of, I'd like to say kids in the business world, obviously all adults in their mid-20s, but felt like, a very much family setting where we just made it happen, launched the first sub $100 hearing aid in the world. The orders started to pour in. We started to bring inventory into this house, this residential house that 4 people were living in, 2 of which were like founding employees of the company as well. And we're just bringing in every friend we can, like, hey, we need help. Like, do you want to help us like fulfill, like, have a job here? And just growing and growing and building out all the functions in real time, the fulfillment, customer service infrastructure, and just learning so much in such a short period of time. But if you walked in that house back then, what you would have seen is a group of probably about 5 to 7, depending on, what stage we were at, people. Like literally you'd see me in there with my shirt tied around my head to keep the sweat out of my eyes. It's 90 degrees with 2 industrial fans trying to cool down the garage. We insulated the garage walls with the best we could with like foam and stuff like that. And, it just was never enough because the garage wall had like holes in it to the outside. It was almost 120 degrees Fahrenheit outside. So, but it was some of the best times of my life too, when you really think back on it, how special that was.
And you touched on the whole idea of learning new skill sets. And now you are thrust into this position as a founder. And as a founder, you kind of wear a lot of hats. What was one of the skills that you kind of had to pick on very quickly into this journey and that you are kind of still use until today?
That's a great question. I would say never underestimate the grassroots approach. Never underestimate how much you can learn from your customers, from talking to them, from doing the work of servicing them, of, being a part of their journey. I think a lot of people in startups or in companies in general, they get really removed from their customer base, and Audien grew very quickly. So within a few months, we were, we had over 10,000 customers and we were, acquiring, say, 10,000 customers a month. So it's very easy to say, well, we have tens of thousands of customers. I'm the CEO. I need to focus on like running the business. But what I really learned in that time, and a skill I think I really use to this day, is at the end of the day, you need to understand the heart and soul of the person you are there to serve and what they think, how they feel, what they need. And the only way to truly get that is through this right here, connection, communication, which at its root is what we're trying to give back to people with hearing loss. So it's a beautiful kind of full circle that to this day, I never underestimate.
And staying on this journey of discovery and you finding yourself, did you go through a moment of self-doubt during this journey? And how did you kind of put yourself back into like going like, okay, what I'm working on is working. There's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Geez, which moment do you want, I will absolutely not sit here and pretend like it's been butterflies and roses in that sense. There's been so many moments where it's challenging. For one, we bootstrap the company, right? So that means we have no investors, no money put in, no cash reserve other than what we build and grow. And so there were so many moments where it just looked like we might not make it out, right? Like where if, this new product launch doesn't go well, or the customer response isn't the way we hope it will be, or as the economy changes, as a global pandemic rolls through the world, right?
Yeah.
And then competition then rushes into the space. And then all these people with all this funding then rush into the space. There were so many moments where I had to really ask myself, like, is this it? I mean, I remember being at one point, not taking a paycheck for 10 months to make sure that all of my team got paid and also to make sure that the company survived kind of one of these downturns. Yeah. And in that time, I mean, it got to the point where I was like 6 weeks from saying like, I'm going to have to sell all my things, like I'm going to lose where I live. I'm going to lose my vehicle, like all of these things in 6 weeks. If this continues at this rate, and keeping the faith that what we were doing mattered, the people we were helping deserved to be helped. And really like, how did I get through the dark times is really 2 ways. One, by remembering and connecting with the people that I was here to serve and seeing the undeniable proof that like this was something that had to change. This was something that people absolutely needed. And then it was frankly looking at my team, who had risked it all to join this dream and bet everything on sort of this outcome, and seeing how hard they worked and how much of heroes they kind of were in that moment, and thinking, there's no way I'm giving up now. There's no way I'm giving up on this.
Yeah. And you came to market with a product that's a tiny fraction of what's in the current market. How did the established industry kind of see you coming into this market? Did you get any pushbacks? Was there any, oh, welcome, let's take you under our wings and show you where you need to go?
Man, you got some good questions. So absolutely, as much as I wish I got a warm welcome and open arms, it was kind of the opposite, right? People were quick to judge that, okay, if you're bringing a product of this price point to the market, it's going to be super low quality. Or, a bunch of kids run this company, they don't know what they're doing. Or you just got lucky, right place, right time, you just got lucky. Like I heard all of those things, but slowly but surely, as we continue to grow, continue to have just so many customer testimonials pour in, so many lives change, it kind of got to a point where it couldn't be ignored, right? Mm-hmm. So I would say that it's been a pretty tough road in terms of the industry, because when you disrupt, right, by nature, you're disrupting some big players that have made a lot of money, and some embrace disruption, many don't. So I would say, I remember going to a hearing conference where I was the sponsor and the keynote speaker of the event a couple years back. And one of the other kind of big brands there had a slide about comparing their product to our product and how our product was like horribly inferior. And I mean, keep in mind, they're comparing our $99 product to their $3,000 product. Okay. There's that. But it was funny because they removed, the name of the company, and like they didn't have a direct. We had met and become almost friends at that point from the nights before. And so that really stuck with me too, because I was kind of smiling thinking, we must be doing something right. These guys are sitting here and they've thought that it's so important to them that they wanted to put a whole slide out on trashing us, basically, when my presentation didn't really have any reference to anyone else, because I was really focused on the value we were delivering.
And what was your skill set in terms of taking some of those naysayers, some of those first people that came into buying your product that were like, is this as good as $3,000 or the product that's in the market already? How did you get those naysayers to convert them into customers?
So luckily our customer base is not too bad with that, or not too quick to judge in that way. Some are. But the reality is, we have a 100% money back guarantee. So it's a risk-free trial. So it's essentially, you don't love it, you don't have to keep it, which a lot of the industry doesn't have that policy, right? There's restocking fees, there's all sorts of other things. But it's also a vote of confidence of like, we are here to change your life. And if you don't feel we can, then that's okay. But I would also say the best way to convert the naysayers, not just customers who might be thinking like, hey, will this really work for me? And obviously almost 1.5 million people would agree it does, was to kind of ask back a question, which is, okay, you've got this phenomenal product. It's cost thousands of dollars. Who's using it? Who's wearing it? How many lives have you been able to impact and change? Because I measure success, not just in product quality, not just in revenue, not just in growth, really not in any of those things, although they matter for business. And obviously we pay attention to them a lot. I measure success and impact in lives changed. You can change one life with a $3,000 hearing aid, or you can change 30 lives with the same $3,000 on our $100 hearing aid. And that's not 30 people that could afford a $3,000 hearing aid. It's 30 people that never would have gotten help, that would have been ignored by the industry, by the world. So that's, I think, the biggest thing that's converted people, is realizing that there's a company here, there's a brand here that really cares and that stays convicted and committed to helping as many people as possible.
And for the listener kind of listening now and hearing that there's hearing aids at a cost price of $98 or $100, they might kind of be like, what's the catch? Like, what's happening? Why is the barrier to entry so cheap? So can you kind of break down where the traditional cost works? Let's say for like the established companies that sell hearing aids, they sell for $5,000. Why is it so expensive? And how have you been able to kind of fundamentally re-engineer the whole process where you can sell quality hearing aids at your price point?
That's a great question. I will start with kind of in chronological order. So back in the day with prescription hearing aids, which by the way, they make phenomenal products, why is it $5,000? Well, the reality is it's a monopoly and kind of a captive industry where if you want to get a hearing aid, you have to go to a doctor. You have to pay for the doctor's time. You have to pay for the doctor's fees. You have to pay for the hearing aid manufacturer's fees. You have to pay for the appointments, the schedulings, the fittings. And even if it's all covered by insurance, you're coming out of pocket typically thousands of dollars because insurances doesn't want to pay $4 to $6 for your hearing aid. Maybe they'll give you half and you got to cover the other half. Maybe they'll give you 70% and you still got to come out of pocket $1,000 to $2,000, right? So the reality is because that was the only way to get help, they got to control the market. They got to decide what the cost was. And this is where I'll challenge that assertion. First of all, I know what it costs to make a $5,000 hearing aid. O'Brien, what would you guess?
Let's say less than $1,000.
A lot less, my friend. A lot of these products cost less than $200. Some cost less than $100 to make. So, why are they? I think you know the answer. I also hold this up, right? Phone, supercomputer, equivalent to the technology in the first NASA rocket that went to space. So they say, right? This costs $1,000. How are you possibly going to tell me that a hearing aid, which compared to this is very simple technology, costs 5 times as much? People say, what's the catch with my technology? I actually would flip it back and say, wait, hold on. What's the catch on that $5,000 price tag? How?
Tell me all the benefits. What am I getting?
Yeah, how could it? Is it 50 times better for you? So obviously there are limitations, in the lowest price points versus the highest. But the reality is, majority of people have mild to moderate hearing loss, which is what over the counter is here to help. But everybody who has mild to moderate hearing loss is being sold the severe and profound level products. It's like saying you need to go buy a car to get to work, and the only car at the dealership is a Ferrari. Aren't you going to walk?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. And just because you have a Ferrari versus a car that is more usable for you does not mean that it does not work, does not mean that it doesn't meet your needs. It does not mean that you are not getting everything you need from it, right? So that's really the biggest difference in mindset about how we approach this. So then go to over the counter. So the government here in America voted 95 votes, on legalizing over-the-counter hearing aids, the Over-the-Counter Hearing Aid Act, right? In 2017. It was voted yes, 94 to 1. One of the only almost unanimous things that everybody on all political sides agreed was that people need to be able to get affordable hearing. And the fact that it costs thousands of dollars for the entry price point products is effectively, a travesty that we need to solve. So that opened the market for over-the-counter hearing aids and ultimately for Audien to come in and develop a product and a line of products starting at 98. And we've got, of course, higher end models as well available, but the top model is 689, not 6,000. And giving people the opportunity to get the hearing care they deserve while meeting the very strict quality standards of the FDA. We can't just throw something out there and hope it sticks. No, this is extremely well-tested, products as well. So,
and I want to keep on the theme of the humans and the most important part of this whole journey for you is the solving the human problem. And how have you connected the design aspect of your hearing aid to the human element? Because a lot of people kind of refuse to use, because you get those big chunk hearing aids and they feel like it doesn't look good on me. So how have you redesigned hearing aids to kind of make it more accessible, to remove the stigma around wearing hearing?
It's such a good question. And what we did was we really put the feelings of the user first, not just the technology, right? Not just the medical sort of necessity and clinical approach. It was, how is this person going to feel when they wear this device? Because here's the reality. No matter how amazing your headphones on your head sound right now and the beauty of the sound quality, if you feel bad when you wear it, if you don't feel confident and comfortable, you're not going to wear it. It doesn't matter how high quality of cotton or bamboo or whatever a shirt could be. If you put it on and you don't think it looks good, you're not going to wear the shirt. So the reality is we had to start from kind of what people really were thinking about and design around that. And so that's ultimately how we targeted the in-the-ear models, because everybody really wanted that. And so like right here, I have our best-selling Atom Pro 2, right? And you can see I'm one of the designers and inventors on the design patent. You can see here, I'm wearing a fully functional over-the-counter hearing aid. I've got a hearing aid in my ear right now. So you can see how the stigma was really kind of removed and gave people the confidence and the opportunity to use a product they could love and also feel good when they wear.
It looks like you're wearing an earphone, like just an average earphone. You don't even
I would say
notice.
it's seemingly a lot smaller than what you're wearing, right? So
Yeah. Well, that's one way to kind of fix a problem. And you've touched over 1 million lives since you started this journey. Is there one story that has kind of stayed with you since you've started?
absolutely. There's a customer in North Carolina, in Raleigh. His name is Terry. Terry is a veteran. Terry's an amazing guy, just a genuinely wonderful human being. He's got some challenges with his legs just due to issues he's had over the years. And so, he was a customer of ours, is a customer of ours that has our hearing aids. And one day I get news from my customer service team. Hey, there's a customer who's calling us who's saying that his house just burned down in an accident and he's lost everything he owns, but he cannot live without his hearing aids. But he also can't afford to buy an entirely new pair because he just lost all of his possessions and he's in a really, really bad financial situation. And I thought, what? Not just, I was like, is this real? Like, what happened here? That's so insane. And lo and behold, we look at the news, we see the article, like he sends it to us. And in that moment, I was so humbled because here's a guy who's lost everything he owns, literally, and it has nothing left to his name. And the first thing he did the day after his house burned down was call us and say, hey, I really need another pair of hearing aids. That's how critical this product and our company was to his life. And that really put it in perspective for me. You're making an impact or you feel you are, but you don't really grasp just how essential something is to someone's life until they have nothing left and this is what they need. So we actually told his story to our customers. We raised, $3,500 from some customers and matched it. I flew to North Carolina, handed Terry $7,000 to help him get back on his feet. And of course, a brand new pair of hearing aids that same week. And, we've been friends to this. So I'll never forget Terry. And I always think about that. How many people there are like Terry? How many millions and millions, tens of millions of people, maybe even hundreds of millions in the world that are in a situation where they just need the help, And we are here to help those people live better lives.
And I want to keep on this theme of people and you moving away from the traditional prescription approach completely. How important is it for you to giving humans that power to take back their own health, that control that's given to them by removing this brick wall of prescriptions, going seeing a doctor? How important has that been for you?
I will make a statement that might even sound dramatic, but I truly believe it. It's the meaning of life, right? To me, I feel like we've all talked about this. You always hear the stories like, what's the meaning of life, right? To me, the answer is very simple. It's to live life connecting and sharing love with the other people on this planet. And so in order to do that, the number one sense that humans have is sound, their ears, to be able to hear laughter, I love you, speak, communicate, connect. So to me, it's not just a critical focus of the business. It is literally, to me, the meaning of life. So I feel that when I'm helping further that to millions of people around the country and soon the world, I am getting to fulfill my purpose and hopefully helping other people do the same in their life.
And let's say I'm a user and I want to buy this product. How do I gauge where my hearing loss is at? And how do I use your product to kind of figure out where I'm at and what I need to buy?
That's a great question. And so first of all, there's a lot of resources on our website, audienhearing.com, where you can go learn and look at the kind of comparisons between the products all in one place and pick what functionality you feel best fits your needs. Obviously, what I'm going to always be able to say is the higher functionality of the product, the more value it can bring, and the more power and quality it can bring. But we have to be very realistic here that there are a few constraints. There's budget, right? There's what you actually want, okay? And then there's the support you have while doing that. So customers are empowered to go to our website to be able to pick up the product. And obviously we're available, on Amazon, we're available in Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, and more to come soon. So really everywhere that you can need us. But the information's on the website, and you'll
Mhm.
be able to see like, this reminds me of myself. I do want a product that has Bluetooth, or I don't want a product that has Bluetooth, right? Like that's a distinction right there. What do you prefer? What matches your budget? And then if you need anything more, you can just call our team. We have a team of specialists that live and breathe this and that would be so happy to answer all your questions, walk you through anything you need, and even help you place your order. Like literally, no matter what you need, where you need to be met, and how you want to be supported, we're here for it.
So I want to take us a little bit into the future, into the unknown of where hearing aids will go. Do you see hearing aids becoming like augmented ears? Where have you played the game Cyberpunk, where you can
Yeah.
augment parts of your body? Do you foresee a future where that's a possibility?
Yeah, I really hope so in the long term future. What I will say is
Hmm.
that we are a lot further in our understanding of the eyes than the ears, just due
Yeah.
to the way that kind of the industries have advanced, right? 80% of people with hearing loss don't wear a hearing aid. That's insane. It's not that way for vision, Huge portion of the people with vision loss wear glasses because they have to, right? Oh, I do see eventually, the augmentations coming, but the ears are really complicated, really challenging. So while I really hope we can drive towards a world where hearing loss no longer exists, as of this moment, it's a degenerative condition that cannot be cured, can only be assisted and supported through obviously hearing care and hearing aids. So at this moment, it is just a critical need that is frankly getting a lot worse because it hasn't been
Hmm.
prioritized by society.
And staying on the theme of the future, you are planning on releasing a new model soon. Can you touch on why is this such a game changer with the aspect of having a touch screen on the model itself, and why is this kind of needed in the market?
Yeah. So the Atom X is really the culmination of years of learning and audience moment to change the way that people view hearing care and hearing aids, right? We had to make a product that was the easiest to use ever while providing the highest level of functionality, comfort, and affordability. And this has been something that we've been tackling year over year. And all of that has sort of led to creating this touchscreen that now allows people that have dexterity issues, even though that product I just wore has a button you can click, maybe it's tough. Maybe you can't feel it, or just maybe dexterity wise, it's not the best fit for you. Maybe the control itself of listening for the beeps is a little too challenging. Maybe you just want something that you just don't have to work as hard to operate, even though we have the easiest to use products historically. How do we make it even easier? How do we make it even better for the consumer? So the Atom X is a big moment, my friend. I think it's going to completely change the way the world views hearing aids. And I view this as
Mhm.
your moment. And I say that to the people who are sitting at home with hearing loss, knowing they have it because the TV's too loud, knowing that their loved ones have it because they can't hear them and they're asking them to repeat themselves or shouting what, knowing that it's affecting their quality of life, but maybe too scared or not sure where to take a step. The Atom X is your moment.
And your mission is about breaking down barriers. And there's no barrier higher than in nations that are developing where access to resources are very limited. When you look at the next frontier or the next expansion for the company, do you see opportunities in continents like Africa?
Absolutely. I mean, I've said from day one that my dream is to make something that can help everybody in the world, not just the populations that are higher income, from the
Mhm.
teacher in Brazil to the farmer in Africa to, the florist in Asia, right? In India. Like it doesn't matter where you come from or what you do, you should have the ability to access the type of product. So I can't share too much, but there's already a lot of stuff in the works on the international frontier. And what's even more exciting is the level of government support, institutional support that I plan to bring to this, because this is a problem that is bigger than a single bootstrap company needing to solve. This is something that humanity needs to get together and tackle and treat as a major condition that is totally assistable if we work together.
And Ishan, you are a co-founder and you're a CEO of this company, but you classify yourself as the Okage of this company. Why Okage? Why is that such a complete removal from what a CEO is for you? So yeah, break it down for us.
Yeah. So for those who may not know, Hokage is a term from Naruto, my favorite anime, and I think pretty much one of the most popular in the world right now. And it refers to the leader of the village. And to me, that title has always carried so much more weight since I was a kid. because it's more than owning and operating and growing a business. It's carrying the hearts and souls of the people that you represent, the people that you serve, and using your own will, drive, and determination, as well as the love and support of everyone around you to build a better future together. So to me, it's so much more than being a CEO, so much more than being a co-founder. And if I had a dream, it would be to uphold that and become Hokage.
Yeah. I think Naruto is definitely one of my top 5 animes of all time. And to kind of end things off for the listeners kind of listening now who have that idea, that spark, looking in their own industries and seeing that hearing aid problem within this specific industry, what advice would you give them to kind of kickstart their journey?
I think the place you start is help one person, then help another, and learn from those people while you help them. What works? What doesn't work? What's affordable? What's not affordable? What are people connecting to? What are they loving? What do they need? How do you build that? How do you deliver that? And once you have a grasp of that, then you can really build a company around it. Figuring out obviously the operations, the unit economics, all that comes and is necessary for success. But in my opinion, at the root, what problem are you solving? And more importantly, who are you solving it for? Just saying there's a problem doesn't mean you understand the person that you're solving it for. Start there, understand them, their hopes, their dreams, their needs, and help them if you think you can or if you feel called to, and then reverse engineer from there how to build the company. Don't build the company and find your customer. Find who you are here to serve and then build a company around that.
And to end things off, if people want to connect with you, where do they find you?
LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn if that's a platform that's used, or, I guess I'm on Instagram too, not something I usually put. Ishan V Patel, like V being my middle name. But, I would say that LinkedIn would be the best place from a business perspective to connect with me.
Well, Ishan, once again, thanks for being on the show.